Okay, so just mentally preparing you, it's a bit esoteric. I think seaweed will become Indonesia's largest agricultural export by dollar value by 2025.
Oh my God, tell me more.
Yeah, well, I'll just lay out the top exports at the moment. So the top export for Indonesia at the moment is palm oil at $10.4 billion each year.
Yep.
Second is rubber at $5.7 billion. So it's such a large drop off. Like I kind of just threw out every other option. Like I was only comparing seaweed to palm oil.
Yep.
So seaweed exports are around the range of 210 million at the moment. So a huge amount.
Okay, wow. So 50x.
50, yeah, that's some quick maths for you. Yeah. I think this one is very unlikely from that standpoint, but I think they actually do stand a chance. So one of the main reasons for that is the seaweed market is meant to double in size between now and 2025. So at the moment it's at $16 billion, and I expect that it will go up to $30 billion. Not I will expect, I've read some people who expect that.
I expect.
I expect, yeah, just me. I did,
Is
yeah,
this your
I read
fridge?
it once. Yeah.
Have you projected the seaweed consumption in your fridge?
Oh my god.
Extrapolating from my fridge, I see a 2x.
Extrapolating from conversations with co-workers. So then, yeah, it's probably worth mentioning what we actually use seaweed for, because it is just quite esoteric. So the main uses are it's present in human food, cosmetics, fertilizers, in industrial gums and chemicals.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's also got some medicinal and industrial uses. But one of the more exciting things that's come out about seaweed in fairly recent times is that it can reduce methane emissions from cows by about 80%.
Oh, wow. That's obviously good.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest arguments for not only the amount of seaweed being consumed growing drastically, but also a very good reason why governments might get involved and why it actually might be heavily subsidized, or like why more than just a couple of people have like a very vested interest in this genuinely happening.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, methane emissions from agriculture is a huge amount of greenhouse gas output. So in Australia, about 10% of the greenhouse gas output is from cows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, huge.
Huge. It really is. And then to be able to cut that down by 80% would be a massive thing. So yeah, it definitely sounds like it's growing, but hey, if it is only doubling, okay, so Indonesia 2x's, you still need to find the other 25x.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think that Indonesia is like in particular very well suited to be probably the main beneficiary of that massive change.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the main reasons for that is what do you need to be good at seaweed farming, right? So you need a lot of coast. I guess, yeah, other properties of Indonesia which are well suited for it is it's got cheap labor. The startup costs are low.
Yeah.
Seaweed farming is kind of interesting because the expertise is not as widespread as a lot of other types of farming. And they do actually have a fair bit of existing expertise in it.
Yeah.
And one of the other quite key things is the tourism industry there, which in 2016 was worth $16.3 billion, has obviously just completely disappeared in the past few months. And there are a lot of people there who are in low income brackets who do have the skills and like the land, I guess, to actually do seaweed farming. So it makes a lot of sense for there to be a push, like a large government initiative to push a lot of people towards seaweed farming, partially to fill that gap from the tourism industry.
Yeah, and I guess another thing would be the palm oil as well as a sort of, people say it's quite an unsustainable industry with a lot of backburning and things like that. So
yeah.
it would be good if there was a bit of a switch to something more sustainable, and seaweed really does seem to be that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was actually kind of interesting though, because if you look at the growth numbers of palm oil, so it seemed to be going up roughly 15% year on year from like 2004 to 2014. And I think there was a major push around then to lower palm oil in a lot of products. So interestingly enough, palm oil is still growing in terms of how much they're exporting, but it stopped accelerating. So now it's closer to 4% year on year, and it looks like it's dropping even more than that.
Yeah,
So
it's tapering off.
yeah.
I'm going to go on the low side. I just do not think it will be Indonesia's top export, just purely because those are some big growth numbers that it needs to hit. What was your timeline for this, by the way? I guess I can't make that prediction without you telling me the timeline.
Yeah, a bit keen of you. Yes, I said before 2025.
And again, I don't think that's feasible. So I'll go the low side on that. I'd say it's almost close to 0% chance, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. I think, yeah, I obviously believe it's much closer to 5%. Yeah, so to clarify, like from running some basic numbers, if they get 130% growth year on year, they will exceed the mark. And like I think that's very possible given the type of industry it is. Like the upfront costs of actually starting one of these things is absolutely bugger all, and it's like it's common materials as well. So they've got the expertise, they've got the materials, they've got the labor force, and they've got the desire or like the need to actually move into something different.
Yeah.
So
and
yeah.
I would counter back and say 130% growth in agriculture seems incredibly tough, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's definitely hard, but like
Yeah.
I think given the right incentives it would happen. And I think there's a pretty good chance that'll happen.
Yeah, no, let's see what happens. Thank you for that prediction, Daniel. I'm so glad that on the second episode of this show, we managed to really dig into seaweed, which is
Well, yeah, no, it's kind of